Hi there. This is a critique of scientific illuminism, which is the cornerstone assumption of many Western magical traditions and occult orders and what have you, quasi Freemasonry as well, and other forms of initiatory mysticism. So, for a start, what is the scientific method? Well, part of what is scientific is that if I take a mass of water, right, in location A in the world at sea level, and I boil that water, the water boils at 100 degrees Celsius, right? And if person B takes another beaker of water at another location around the world at sea level, they both got to be at sea level, then they would get the same result, 100 degrees Celsius, which is the boiling point of water at sea level. Now that points to a common reality, namely that water boils at 100 degrees Celsius at sea level. So that's what might call a scientific truism or truth. Um, and wouldn't matter if you get like 100,000 people all boiling water at the same time at sea level. They would all get the same result. So that points to what we call reality, discursive reality. Um, so scientific illuminism is when you take person A and you give them a ritual to do, and they get a certain vision A, and you get person B in a completely different location on the planet and give them the same ritual, they too will get vision VA. They'll get the same vision, all so approximate to it that it doesn't really matter. Maybe there may be slight differences due to the psychology or life situation of person A and B, but pretty much 90% the vision will be exactly the same for both individuals, and that is supposed to point to what they call a transcendental reality. So here is reality, and it's transcendental. So um, that point, and that would then qualify you to say that the transcendental reality or the transcendental realm is made up of the following qualities or characteristics which have been independently discovered by two individuals carrying out the same ritual or same meditation or same whatever method that you might have developed, you see. And again, you could have 100,000 people all doing the same ritual or meditation or whatever, getting the same vision, and that would only strengthen the hypothesis that the transcendental reality consists of certain characteristics which have been discovered independently by different practitioners, and this would be scientific illuminism. Okay, now of course this is like there's a big difference between getting a vision and boiling water. That's the first thing. I think getting visions is going to be extremely sort of subtle and ethereal compared to boiling water, boiling beakers of water around the world at sea level. Because if you boil water on the top of of Everest, it will take a much shorter time to boil than at sea level. But I mean that's okay. So we've discovered one fact, and so then we can extrapolate from the same method, and we say we've discovered that heaven is not only has definite characteristics to it which are discoverable independently by different people. But that would also point to the fact that heaven is a real place, or this transcendental realm is a real place. Um, but of course, as I've explained many times in my videos, how do you know that is heaven that you've discovered? It could be just another astral or ethereal plane. And it's really not it's not as transcendental as you think it is. So in that sense, the astral level is pretty much no different, really, from the material level in which we discover the boiling point of water at sea level. It's just a matter of scale or dimension, or dimensional difference or scalar difference, or perhaps a difference between brains and water molecules, let us say. But there's a big problem with scientific illuminism because if it is being assumed that the boiling point of water at 100 degrees at sea level is an illusion, is Maya, it doesn't really exist, then basically all that budding scientists have discovered is that we can all share in the same illusion. we can we can all share in the same illusion, which isn't really to say very much. But if I do a ritual and I get vision, I get a certain vision, and you do the same ritual and you get a different vision, surely this actually means that each one of us has discovered the law of our own being. We've discovered the truth, which is true for you and true for you. You and I have a different vision, but all we've discovered is basically, we discovered an individual truth within, sort of thing. You see, and it could be that this it could be that what we have on one side is uniform illusion, which is the water boiling at sea level. But what we have here is a transcendental realm which has multiform. It has different truths for different individuals, and the individual discovers his or own truth through doing the same ritual. So person A does a ritual, person B does the same ritual, and each of them discovers themselves, their uniqueness, their individuality, their own individual creativity. And I mean, you could trace perhaps the characteristics of the vision back to the individual's life situation, their past, their present situation, their basic psychological makeup, which is supposedly genetically created, although that's sort of go back to scientific, making a scientific assumption there, talking about genetics. Even if we don't talk about genetics, we are talking about individuality. So the person A and person B discovers the law of their own being by doing the same ritual and actually experiencing completely different things. It's like, person A and person B looks at the picture, and they look at a picture in an art gallery, and they each get a different experience of that picture. And it's that experience of the picture. The picture is supposed to be same. It's supposed to be uniform. It's made, with pigments and canvas that don't change apparently, and yet person A and person B get a completely different experience from the art, and that experience is true for them. And in the vision, we're doing, a common ritual or common meditation, and each of us is getting us a different experience from doing the same thing, and that proves that there is a reality called the individual reality, and it could be that that this points to a transcendental realm where everybody would perceive God or the transcendental realm in their own unique way. And this led me to the conclusion, maybe this is why we are here, because each soul the experience of this world by each soul is going to be unique. Okay, so you take that uniqueness. It's the same world. The soul of each person is also the same spiritual stuff. So it's the same world and the same spiritual stuff, but the interaction between soul and world has created uniqueness. And it is this uniqueness that is carried on to the transcendental realm to give each person a unique experience of God, or the unique experience of heaven, in quotation marks. And at the same time, they are also remaining true to themselves. They are also experiencing their own uniqueness. So it's not like, heaven isn't a sort of uniform place where we all play harps and have wings and halos, right? It is in fact a place where individuality, uniqueness are really taken to the nth level. And what you experience in the transcendental realm is utterly you. Um, and the ritual or the initiation has provided you with the tools whereby you can become yourself, so that you're no longer enculturated by your society. You're no longer conditioned by your parents or church or the things that happened to you in your childhood. You are your own person. You are your own man, or you are your own woman, or you are your own transgender person. And it is this uniqueness that's important. And the fact that you and I have different visions from the same meditation or the same ritual or the same method actually indicates our uniqueness, which is then somehow projected onto eternity, onto the transcendental realm. Of course, I realise that this assumes a metaphysics that obviously, if you're a scientist, you're going to reject out of hand, or if you're in the English school of materialist philosophy, you will reject out of hand. And no doubt Anthony Kenny will dismiss all this Cartesian philosophy outright. I understand that. I am only just trying to point out that scientific illuminism is a contradiction in terms. You can't have illuminism and scientific method together. I think that scientific illuminism sort of grew up from the 19th century when people were trying desperately to prove the existence of the afterlife. And through scientific means. Whereas, psychism and science have nothing to do with each other. They're a different narrative, if you were, if you like. We are all experiencing the illusion of matter, and the fact that water boils 100 degrees Celsius at sea level is neither here nor there. That's just the illusion that we're all experiencing. But when we experience our own truth, unadulterated truth, then it's the experience of this truth, of our uniqueness, which is projected onto eternity and to our later experience after death of the body, our experience of the transcendental realm. And this is why soul is here in this realm of, in this veil of tears. It's because soul needs to interact with all the vicissitudes of life in order to create this uniqueness. So this is why soul came down originally, because all soul was experiencing the same when it was in heaven. And then when soul comes down to the lower levels, it experiences everything uniquely, you see, because it interacts with the uniqueness of our individual life situations. So that when soul goes back up into heaven, it's reintegrated with God, it takes this uniqueness with it. And therefore soul becomes differentiated into souls, and these souls then cluster or coalesce or accumulate around a central bindu or central point of God, you see. So in fact, it's like, if you will, uniformity going into multiformity, sameness going into difference, um, bland conformity, as it were, going into uniqueness and individualism. So that the future Jerusalem, the new Jerusalem, will be where uniqueness and individuality are totally separate, totally celebrated, and totally possible. Uh, whereas at the moment our uniqueness and individuality are only partially possible because we are so enculturated, we are so conditioned, we are so oppressed, if you want to call it that, by our family, peer group, church, school, economic, social system, political system, whatever. But in the transcendental realm, we shall achieve utter, where it will be possible to be totally individual, and therefore we realize fully the law of our own being, if you like. So I think I was just contemplating this today as a result of a lecture given by a Martinist group that talked about scientific illuminism. I mean, even if it's possible for two people to get the same vision, I don't think, I think it is still, it indicates to me that we haven't got away from the uniformity of reality as we currently see it or experience it. But when it's transcendental, it will be truly multiform, based on every soul's individual experience of this world. So, when soul is restored to God, it will be souls in plural, and every soul will be unique and individual and precious. Each deriving wisdom from the unique experience, a unique interaction of soul with the lower worlds, as indicated by this figure here, where we descend into the lower worlds and ascend back into the higher worlds again. But perhaps I don't know, maybe I'm just being nitpicking here, or maybe I'm just being rather sophistic, like a sophist. Maybe some people will reject this model as being sophistic, and not really based on what they're trying to get. I think scientific luminism, it sounds too uniform. It sounds like we all have to, wave our Bibles in the air and say we've all had the same experience of Jesus. I don't see it like that. I think that scientific luminism smothers individuality rather than celebrates it, and is at any rate a contradiction in terms.